The tabloids were saying the richest man in Hong Kong proposed to me. His 8 girlfriends were not happy about it and had me kidnapped. I sighed. Seriously? Who proposes on both knees? The tycoon himself had to issue a statement. You can insult me, but don't you dare disrespect Master Jade. My name is Jade. I'm a freshman at Northgate University, the last living geomancer, and the head of the Feng School. Geomancers, once called Feng Shui masters, belong to the Feng School, one of the 8 great schools of ancient lore. It's the school that studies the geography of the world, and every Feng Shui master is a part of it. So long story short, when it comes to Feng Shui, if I say I'm number 2, no one dares claim to be number 1. This time, I was heading to Hong Kong at the invitation of a Feng Shui master named Albert Chen. We hadn't even made it to the plane before we were stopped at the security checkpoint. I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't bring beverages on the plane. You can check it with your luggage over there. Pfft, what a country bumpkin. Doesn't even know that? Someone whispered nearby. Albert awkwardly tugged my arm. Master, is this your first time flying? I shook my head and looked at the TSA agent earnestly. Miss, this isn't a drink. It's yin-yang water. Ha ha ha, nutrient water? What's the difference? That's hilarious. The laughter around us grew louder. Someone even pulled out their phone and started recording. Albert's face turned beet red. Master, isn't yin-yang water just half cold water and half boiling water? It's not that special. We can just check it. I froze, staring at him in disbelief. What the hell? You don't even know what yin-yang water is? Have you people in Hong Kong forgotten everything you ever knew about Feng Shui? That remark did not go over well. Everyone knows Hong Kong is obsessed with Feng Shui. From billionaires and celebrities to everyday shopkeepers, no one makes a move without consulting it. Their news channels even publish a daily Feng Shui index to guide citizens' lives. A few Hong Kongers waiting to board turned on me, their faces flushed with anger. Are you kidding me? Hong Kongers don't know Feng Shui? What does a mainlander like you know? Yeah, you guys lost all the real knowledge. All the best masters are here in Hong Kong. Albert, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, tried to shrink into himself. He leaned in and whispered, Master Jade, please, let's not make a scene. Let's just toss the water and get on the plane. Mr. Leo is getting impatient. He's already called me several times. I shot him a disappointed look inside. Ugh, from bad to worse. I had no idea the art has fallen this far in Hong Kong. Today, I'll educate you. Listen up, and I'll tell you what real yin-yang water is. Yin-yang water. 1 part yin, 1 part yang. The yin water is groundwater that has never seen the light of day, but that's just the basic stuff. The most special kind must be drawn from the underground rivers at the foot of Mount Everest. Everest is the highest peak on Earth, the closest to the sun. Its golden, sun-drenched peaks radiate immense energy. When the snow melts and flows underground, it becomes the ultimate yin water, infused with a core of pure yang. The yang water, according to ancient texts, is rainwater that hasn't touched the ground. The most potent kind comes from the Kunlun Mountains, known as the ancestor of all mountains. You have to collect it on a white jade plate during a rainstorm at midnight. Midnight is the hour of deepest yin, so the yang water becomes infused with yin, creating the most powerful yang water. Yin-yang water made this way is called ether water. It can banish demons and destroy any evil in this world. Albert was completely dumbfounded, staring at me with his mouth agape. A moment later, he reached out a trembling hand to touch the plastic water bottle in my hand. My God, it's that incredible? Master, why would you put it in a bottle like this? You should at least use a jade gourd. I rolled my eyes. Jade gourds are expensive. You think I have that kind of money? Alright, cut the chatter. If this water goes in the cargo hold, it'll get contaminated and become useless. Figure something out. Albert nodded. Okay, this can't wait. I'll have Mr. Leo arrange a private jet. The people around us stared like we were lunatics, especially the trendy girl who was still filming us with her phone. She let out a high-pitched giggle. Oh my God, are these two shooting a movie? The way they spin these stories. Mainlanders are such incredible liars. I know, right? A private jet. Haha, what a poser. The other Hong Kongers joined in, united in their mockery. Albert ducked his head even lower and pulled me aside to wait. A little while later, as they started to board, the trendy girl made a point of waving her phone at me. "Hey, Master. Heading to Hong Kong, are you? I'll be sure to spread the word for you. Let everyone in Hong Kong know a great feng shui master is on her way." About half an hour after they left, Mr. Leo's private jet was ready. Sinking into the plush, imported leather seat, I excitedly asked the flight attendant for drinks and snacks. Albert, now without his hat and glasses, leaned in obsequiously. "Master, did you really go to the underground rivers at Everest yourself? Can you tell me all the details?" His two assistants, sitting in the row ahead of us, craned their necks to listen. "What? I've never been to Everest." Albert blinked. "But then this bottle of ether water." I waved my hand dismissively. "Relax, I was just telling you how awesome ether water is. This isn't it. It's just regular yin-yang water from the well in my hometown. Besides, it's just a cracked Tombstone. You think I'd use ether water on that? Heh, what a waste." Albert was speechless. The reason he'd hired me was that Hong Kong's richest man, Leo, had a problem. The tombstone on his family's ancestral grave was cracked. For 3 months straight, every new headstone they installed split right down the middle. Leo had consulted every feng shui master in Hong Kong to no avail. That's when Albert ran into me and begged me to come to Hong Kong. There was one thing I didn't tell him. I did have some real ether water. Just a tiny bit, stored in an old eye cream jar. Getting it cost me an arm and a leg, so I wasn't about to use it for just anything. I woke up as the plane landed in Hong Kong. Leo himself was there to pick us up. I squinted at him. He was in his early 30s, tall, with delicate features. Not bad looking at all, even handsomer than in his photos. Of course, Mr. Leo was most famous for his 8 girlfriends, all A-list Hong Kong celebrities and models. His love life was a permanent fixture on the entertainment news headlines. "Your Master Jade? So young." Leo shook my hand politely, trying his best to hide his surprise. But I could see the disappointment and dismissal in his eyes. "How old are you, Master Jade?" 20. I shook my head. "Just turned 18. I'm a freshman." "Ah." Leo let out a deep sigh and pulled Albert aside. They whispered for a moment. A little while later, Leo walked back over to me, a forced, polite smile plastered on his face. "Well, since you're here, I'll have my secretary arrange a tour for you. You can see the sights, have some fun in Hong Kong." He didn't even mention the reason I was here. Albert started to panic. After a few days together, he knew my temper. "If you don't ask me to do a job, I won't lift a finger." Not wanting to waste the trip, he quickly pulled Leo aside again, whispering furiously and hyping up my abilities. Leo raised an eyebrow, looking me over. After a moment, he nodded hesitantly. "All right then. To be honest, Mr. Chun, I've invited every big-name feng shui master in Hong Kong for this. We were all waiting for you to get back. I suppose she can tag along." "Master Jade, why don't you get some rest at the hotel tonight? I'll have a driver pick you up tomorrow." Leo arranged for me to be taken to a hotel, then grabbed Albert and hurried off. As he walked away, I glanced at his back. It was hot out, and he was wearing a simple short-sleeved shirt, revealing a pale neck. He clearly worked out, but for some reason, there was a small bulge at the base of his neck, like the dowager's hump you sometimes see on older people. In a flash, an idea hit me. I rushed forward, grabbed his arm and shouted, "Wait!" Every head in the lavish hotel lobby turned to look at us. Leo clearly hated being the center of attention. He frowned, shooting me an annoyed look. "Master Jade, if you need anything, just contact my secretary. I have to run." I let out a cold laugh and released his arm. "You walk out that door, and you'll be dead by morning." Leo was silent. Albert cleared his throat. "Master Jade, that's a bit much." He obviously thought I was exaggerating. Leo was only in his 30s, in his prime. He had a private doctor and 8 bodyguards. A guy like that doesn't just drop dead easily. Leo was getting angry, but he was too well-mannered to curse me out. "Master Jade, I brought you here out of respect for Mr. Chen. Feng Shui requires real skill, not just smoke and mirrors and empty threats to scare people." As he spoke, he brushed off the sleeve I had just grabbed. I glanced down and was blinded by the flash of his diamond-encrusted watch. "All right, kid. Your money just saved your life. Things not working in the bedroom lately? Your girlfriends must be thrilled. The moment the words left my mouth, Leo's expression changed. He looked like he'd been choked, his eyes widening as he sucked in a sharp breath. He glanced around nervously, then leaned in close to my ear. Ahem, could you keep your voice down? Ahem. After a few tactical coughs, he whispered, Master Jade, how did you know? I poked him in the lower back, right over his kidneys. Just as I thought. Ice cold to the touch, and the skin was already slightly stiff. After checking both sides, I reached up and tapped the hump on his neck. You know what's inside this lump on your neck? It's full of death energy. Leo looked at me with a complicated mix of doubt and belief. His tone was much more respectful now. Well, Master Jade, we Hong Kongers believe in a scientific approach to feng shui. This death energy of yours, is that a real feng shui concept? It sounds a little far-fetched. Mr. Chun, have you ever heard of this death energy? Albert looked just as confused. There is a concept of dead qi in feng shui, but it usually refers to a house with poor flow, where energy stagnates in a certain area. Living in a place like that for a long time can make you sick. But I've never heard of death energy that can enter a person's body. I shot Albert an annoyed glare. Is that all your father taught you? You're a disgrace to the Sanhe school. Normally, a faint aura of death energy only appears on people who are dying from a terminal illness or old age. Back in the countryside, if a child started crying uncontrollably around an elderly person, people would say that person didn't have long to live. Children are naturally sensitive to that kind of aura. As people grow up, their spiritual senses dull, and they can no longer feel it. But the death energy on Leo was different. It had been forced on him from an external source. His body was still healthy and vital, and it was fighting back against the energy, causing it to pool in one spot instead of spreading throughout his body. Death energy attacks yang energy first, and the kidneys are the storehouse of primal yang. That's why Leo couldn't perform for his girlfriends. You're in good shape. You shouldn't have died so quickly. But that clump of death energy is in a very dangerous spot, close to your brain, and it's starting to spread. But you're lucky. Your gate of life is still producing a steady stream of vitality. I can use an external force to stimulate it, and buy you a few more days. As I spoke, I curled my fingers and jabbed him hard in the navel. The navel is the body's life force center. In the womb, we absorb energy through the umbilical cord. After it falls off, the navel remains a massive reservoir of energy that can be stimulated with special techniques. Leo, caught completely off guard, yelped in pain. He doubled over, clutching his stomach, but then he felt a warm current spread from his navel through his entire body. The chill in his lower back vanished, the stiffness in his neck eased, and the heavy feeling in his legs disappeared. His whole body felt revitalized. It was a sensation so intensely satisfying he couldn't describe it. He'd never experienced anything like it. He was instantly a believer. The thought of the death energy on his neck made his face turn pale. His knees gave way, and he dropped to the ground, hugging my leg. Master Jade, please save me. Save my life. Click, click, click. Flashes went off everywhere. Leo's 8 bodyguards, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally snapped into action and formed a circle around us. Leo realized what was happening and shot to his feet, looking around wildly before grabbing my arm. Master Jade, let's talk back at my place. A bodyguard asked. Back to the hotel, sir? Leo's eyes bulged. Are you kidding me? Master Jade can't stay in a hotel. We're going to my house. Go get her luggage now. On the way to Leo's house, he stuck to my side like glue. Master Jade, what was that thing you did? Can you do it again? I just punched him in the stomach. Ack. Leo yelped, clutching his gut, then looked up confused. Master Jade, did you miss? I didn't feel it that time. I shook my hand, giving him a disgusted look. It's too hot. Give me some space. Leo's house was in Deepwater Bay, a prime location nestled between mountains and water, with 2 smaller hills on either side forming a natural twin peak wealth basin, a rare and auspicious feng shui spot. When we arrived at his mansion, Leo had the room next to his own prepared for me. After settling in, I lay down on the 10-foot wide bed, admired the ocean view, and turned on the TV. Leo's face appeared on the screen. Billionaire Leo proposes in hotel lobby. Who is this mysterious woman? Find out on tonight's Gossip at 9. The shaky camera footage from the hotel played, complete with flashy, oversized text. Overcome with passion, the two can't keep their hands off each other. Woman's playful punches earn smiles from the billionaire. And as you can see, the two left together for Leo's mansion in Deepwater Bay. It's well known that Leo rarely brings women home. The last to receive this honor was a list actress Vivian Lee. We now go live to our reporter with Vivian for her reaction. What a load of crap. I shook my head and turned off the TV in disgust. The next morning, Leo informed me that the other feng shui masters were already at the ancestral grave. I grabbed my gear and went out with him, only to find a helicopter hovering over us. Leo looked ashamed. It's just the paparazzi. They make up all sorts of nonsense. Don't pay them any mind, Master Jade. I nodded, not really caring. Let them take pictures. I'd wash my hair today, so I was ready for my close-up. The helicopter followed us all the way to Leo's family grave at Starfall Ridge Cemetery. It was the most expensive cemetery in Hong Kong, home to many wealthy and famous figures. Leo's ancestral plot was near the top of the hill, a sprawling piece of land. When we arrived, a large crowd was already gathered. To my surprise, there were also reporters with microphones and cameras. Albert was in the crowd. He saw us and jogged over, looking anxious. Master, we have a problem. It turned out that after yesterday's entertainment news broke, the video of me at the airport saying Hong Kong feng shui was in decline went viral. Hong Kong's feng shui masters, who were used to being treated like royalty by the rich and powerful, were not about to take that kind of disrespect. They had decided to invite the Feng Shui Association to a public gathering, complete with a live broadcast, to demand that I, the mainland master, apologize for my ignorance and provocation. Leo, is this your girlfriend? Heh young, but she's got a big mouth. I'm telling you right now, if she doesn't apologize, no one in Hong Kong will ever do feng shui for your family again. The crowd parted to reveal an old man in a traditional Tang suit with long, white hair and a beard. Leo's face fell the moment he saw him. He walked over and respectfully shook the old man's hand. Chairman Su, that's a bit extreme. Could there be some misunderstanding? Leo had no idea about the airport video, so he was clueless as to why I'd suddenly offended all these masters. Misunderstanding or not, you'll see soon enough. Chairman Su tapped his cane, strode up to me, and snorted. You're the one who said Hong Kong's feng shui is in decline? I looked at the hostile group of old men and nodded. What about it? The crowd erupted. Albert grimaced, frantically trying to signal me to shut up. Don't say any more, master, please just stop. Even Leo looked shocked, glancing back and forth between me and the others. Master Jade, that's not really appropriate. Such arrogance. Leo, you heard what I said. Have her apologize on camera. And for your sake, I'll pretend this never happened. Chairman S.'s face was grim as he thumped his cane on the ground. The pressure was on Leo. He looked torn. Logically, he should side with this group of established masters. But yesterday, I'd shown him things he'd never seen before, talking about death energy and gates of life, things these Hong Kong masters had never mentioned. The scales were tipping in my favor. Chairman, Master Jade was specially invited from the mainland by Mr. Chun. Wouldn't it be disrespectful to Mr. Chun not to even let her show what she can do? Leave it to Leo to expertly pass the buck to Albert. Albert, a seasoned veteran of these social games, cursed Leo under his breath, but maintained a calm exterior. He nodded smoothly. Chairman, I've seen Master Jade's abilities with my own eyes. She truly is better than me. She's young and fiery. We're old men with one foot in the grave. Why should we get worked up over a few words? In my opinion, let's have a proper challenge. Let them compete. Let her see the skill of Hong Kong's masters for herself, and she'll have no choice but to accept defeat. He then walked over to me and whispered in my ear, Master, show these country bumpkins what you've got. Open their eyes. Albert was well known and respected in the Feng Shui Association, and with his seniority, many others chimed in to agree. Chairman Su snorted again, giving me a disdainful look. Master Jade? If you're so great, why don't you tell us why this tombstone keeps cracking? Ancient tombstones were made of stone. When carved, they developed internal microfractures. Over time, wind, sun, and temperature changes would cause the cracks to spread to the surface. But that clearly wasn't the case with the Leo family tombstone. This one was made of black marble, a durable, stable material. It looked brand new, yet a large crack ran from the top right corner, surrounded by a spiderweb of smaller fissures that covered the entire inscription. I walked a lap around the burial plot. I had to admit, Leo's family had a prime piece of real estate. A semicircular plot with 6 wide steps leading down. From the grave, you could see the entire hill and, in the distance, the endless blue sea. In a city where every inch of land was precious, the Leo family ancestors got to enjoy an ocean view even in death. They sure knew how to live it up. I went to the tombstone and patted it. It was bone-chillingly cold. TSK. Overflowing with death energy. It was a miracle Leo was still alive. Who chose this spot? Chairman chose this auspicious site for my father years ago. Leo's father, the original tycoon, had spent a fortune while he was alive, consulting countless feng shui experts and searching far and wide before finally settling on this spot. Chairman puffed out his chest proudly. I gave him a thumbs up. Not bad. A mountain at its back, a clear view in front, and an open expanse that could hold 10,000 horses. A classic Chilan's lair that should bring generations of fortune and prosperity. Chairman looked at me with surprise. You do have some insight. Too bad someone else already claimed this prime spot. You're basically squatting on their grave, and they're pissed. It won't be long before your old man's coffin lid pops right off. As soon as I said it, Leo's expression changed. A few of the local feng shui masters exchanged glances, their earlier dismissive attitudes gone. Young lady, you do have some skill, but there's no need for such theatrics. It's true this spot belonged to someone else, but Mr. Leo paid a hefty sum for them to move the grave. He was more than fair. Why would there be any resentment? Someone else muttered, it's no secret Mr. Leo paid Old Man Tong to move the grave. It was even in the news. This girl probably just looked it up to sound impressive. The Old Man Tong they were talking about was another famous feng shui master. His family was from Xiangxi in Hunan province. He had fled to Hong Kong with his fellow villagers during the war, and later made a small name for himself. However, he practiced the school of feng shui, a discipline tied to astrology that was too esoteric for the mainstream schools in Hong Kong. Back then, Starfall Ridge Cemetery was in the middle of nowhere, and not particularly valuable. Tong had buried his father there. It was only after Chairman chose the site for the elder Mr. Leo that the cemetery's value skyrocketed. Tong took the money, had his father's coffin exhumed, cremated, and sent back to their ancestral home for burial. He used the money to immigrate to Singapore and invest in business, and now he was a well-known tycoon himself. I looked at the overwhelming death energy radiating from the tombstone, and shook my head firmly. Impossible. The original body is definitely still in this grave. The feng shui of this place was good, but a single corpse couldn't possibly generate this much death energy. Besides, even if Mr. Tong's father was still buried here, any resentful energy should have dissipated. The plot was on the sunny side of the mountain, exposed to sunlight all day. The sea breeze kept the air flowing. There was no way death energy could concentrate like this. There had to be something else going on under this grave. I told Leo to open the tomb so I could take a look, but the crowd went wild. Chairman Su's face turned red, feeling deeply insulted. That's absolutely impossible. I was there myself when Franklin Tong moved the grave. You think he could have snuck back and reburied him? Leo also hemmed and hawed, reluctant to open the tomb. Master Jade, my father is resting in peace. It's so disrespectful to have all these people go down there. It's very unlucky. I nodded in agreement. Fine. We won't go down. In a couple of days, your father will come up to see you himself. Same result. What? Men quickly. Open the tomb. Leo's voice cracked as he shrieked the order to open the tomb immediately. Wealthy families in Hong Kong like to build their tombs like mini mausoleums. Behind the headstone was an opening to a chamber about 6 feet high and 300 square feet, with a coffin placed directly beneath where the headstone stood. Light streamed in from the opening, illuminating the black coffin. The rest of the chamber remained shrouded in thick darkness. I had Leo get some floodlights and a ladder, preparing to descend into the crypt. But the Hong Kong masters wouldn't have it. They insisted on coming down with me. Who knows what kind of tricks you'll pull to fake something? Exactly. I see what you're up to, young lady. You know a little bit about feng shui, so you use all this hocus pocus to trick people. Today we'll show you what real, orthodox feng shui looks like. I looked doubtfully at the group of old men, including Albert and Chairman. There were 6 of them, all esteemed feng shui masters with a combined age of nearly 400 years. What if the corpse reanimates? You won't be able to run. What's the point of going down? The men stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, reanimates? Oh my dear girl, have you been watching too many old school zombie movies? Ha ha ha, Albert. Where did you find this girl? Reanimates? What's next? She's gonna say it's a jiangshi. Even Chairman chuckled, shaking his head in derision. Nonsense. To think I'm even discussing feng shui with someone like you. It's an embarrassment to our association. I just stared at the cackling group, completely bewildered. What's so funny about reanimation? Or jiangshi? The 1995 jiangshi incident in Chengdu was handled by my master personally. You people don't know a damn thing. When I said that, they just laughed harder. Even Leo was smirking, clearly not believing a word. Master Jade, I think I'll go down with you all to see. Leo had someone bring a ladder, and he descended with 2 burly bodyguards. The 6 masters and I followed. With 10 people, the crypt felt crowded. Leo walked to the coffin, knelt, and bowed 3 times. Father, your son has been unfilial. Forgive me for disturbing your peace. A thick layer of dust covered the coffin. I took out my bottle of yin-yang water and tentatively poured a little onto the lid. A cloud of black smoke immediately billowed up with a sizzling sound. Chairman was furious. What are you doing? How dare you pour acid on the coffin? Hearing this, Leo scrambled to his feet and rushed over. He saw that a small pit had been corroded into the priceless golden Namu wood. Leo's eyes turned red with anger. The coffin had cost him over $1 million and took a master craftsman 5 years to build. Now that I had damaged it, he was struggling to contain his temper, despite needing my help. The other masters, seeing their chance, began to berate me. Their voices a cacophony of righteous indignation that gave me a headache. Tired of the noise, I took the bottle and splashed its contents in Chairman Su's face. Ack, what are you? He screamed and dropped to the ground, covering his face. Oh my God! What did you do? Someone call an ambulance. Chairman Su, are you okay? He moaned from behind his hands, my skin. Ah, my skin. The others panicked. What's wrong with your skin? My skin feels so moisturized. Chairman Su patted his face and stood up, looking astonished. Albert let out a small ha and leaned in for a closer look. Chairman Su, you look a little younger. Your wrinkles are less noticeable. The group gathered around him, marveling at the change. I impatiently explained the principle of yin-yang water again. It dispels evil and is somewhat effective against death energy. Chairman Su was old and carried a faint aura of death energy. The water drove it out, naturally improving his skin. The effect was temporary, though he'd be back to normal by tomorrow. Chairman listened and shook his head. I don't believe it. Not unless you let me have a sip of that yin-yang water. Everyone else was silent. They all stared greedily at the water bottle in my hand. I rolled my eyes and put it away. This coffin is shrouded in death energy. It might really reanimate. Leo, were you here at midnight 9 days ago? Leo did the math and gasped. Yes, Master Jade. That was the anniversary of my father's death. I'd had a bit to drink and stayed here until late at night. I nodded. It was the month of the fire goat, on the day of the metal ox. At the hour of deepest yin, the death energy from the tomb seeped out of the headstone and into your body. To get rid of the death energy in you, we have to deal with this coffin. Tomorrow, have your men lifted out of here. It needs to be exposed to the sun for 9 days. I'm going to perform a ritual for it. Hey, you make it sound so real. That water is probably just some special solution that only corrodes wood. Don't fall for it. And Master Jade, weren't you supposed to be looking for another body? Where is it? Don't try to distract us with this bottle of water. A dissonant voice cut through the crowd. Everyone paused, then started nodding in agreement. That's right. Enough with your spooky theatrics. Where's the body? The crypt was lit by floodlights. It was a square space, about 300 square feet, with a coffin in the center. We were all crowded around it, but the rest of the room was empty and clearly visible. I took out my Luopan compass and walked a lap around the crypt. I stopped in the northwest corner, looked around, and tapped on the walls but found nothing. I circled the crypt 3 times. Each time, the compass pointed to something unusual in the northwest corner, but I couldn't find a thing. I only felt that this corner was particularly dark and cold, as if a thick fog was blocking the light. Baffled, I squatted down, scooped up a bit of dirt and sniffed it. It was cold and damp, with a faint fishy stench. I flicked the dirt off my hand in disgust and happened to glance up. Holy crap! Nailed to the ceiling was a corpse, its limbs splayed out, its head twisted at a grotesque angle, staring right at me. Hey, can't find it, so you resort to cursing, Master Jade? Yeah, Master, where's this body you were talking about? Show us. The masters gathered around the coffin, mocking me disdainfully. The corpse on the ceiling glanced at me, then seemed to shrink back. It scurried across the ceiling with terrifying speed, heading straight for the group of feng shui masters. The world has really gone downhill. These young people today, they don't learn the craft properly. They pick up a few tricks and then act all high and mighty, trying to use us old-timers as stepping stones. The masters shook their heads, looking at me with expressions of profound disappointment. I started walking toward them, very, very slowly, pulling out my lightning-struck wood token and bagua mirror. The ladder leading out of the crypt was propped up next to the coffin. I watched in horror as the corpse reached the top of the ladder and gave it a gentle push. Thud. The ladder fell to the floor with a dull thud, kicking up a cloud of dust that danced in the pale, white light of the floodlights. Chairman Sue grumbled, "Albert, why'd you knock over the ladder?" Albert shook his head, looking confused. "Chairman, I'm standing over here. I wasn't anywhere near the ladder." Chairman Sue frowned. "Then who pushed it?" "Someone pick it up." "It wasn't me." "Not me either." "I didn't do it." They bickered for a moment, then realized no one had been standing near the ladder. Then someone above ground must have pushed it. How careless. What if someone had been standing under it? They could have been hurt. Chairman looked up toward the tomb's opening. Just then, a clap of thunder echoed, and a fierce wind began to howl outside. A moment later, a drumming sound started on the ground above us, accompanied by panicked shouts. "It's raining." The sky had darkened, and the last ray of sunlight was long gone. The only light in the crypt came from the ghostly white floodlights. Chairman blinked. He blinked again hard. Then he clutched his chest and let out a scream worthy of a teenage girl. "Ah!" As he screamed, the corpse finally dropped from the ceiling. It landed on all fours on the coffin lid like a reptile and stared, wide-eyed, at the feng shui masters. Now that it was in the light, I could see it clearly. It had long, matted hair and a face so gaunt it was almost a skull. Its fingernails were half an inch long, black and razor-sharp. It wore clothes of an unidentifiable color and style, so rotten they hung off its body like tattered rags, revealing patches of bluish-gray skin. "Oh my God! It's a monster!" The masters froze for a second, then screamed and scrambled to get away. The corpse ignored them, looked around, and then lunged for Leo. "Holy crap! Master Jade, help me! Master Jade!" Leo dove and rolled just as its sharp claws tore a long strip of fabric from the back of his shirt. "Protect the client at all costs." I immediately gripped my lightning-struck wood token and charged toward Leo. He scrambled behind me as the corpse leaped at me. I raised my hand, and the token shot out a bolt of lightning. With a loud crack, the corpse was thrown to the ground. It lay motionless. Everyone was stunned. Amidst their shocked, complex, and reality-shattering gazes, I calmly walked over to the corpse, squatted down, and pried open its jaw. A putrid, rotten stench filled the air. I pinched my nose and examined its teeth. They were yellow and black, and slightly longer than a normal person's, but it didn't have the characteristic fangs of a jiangshi. Just as I suspected. This was a shade. Mama, Master Jade. What was that? Leo's legs were weak, and he was half kneeling on the ground, looking up at me as if I were a goddess. Oh this? The 5 Thunder Command. A lightning-struck Jujube wood token. I brandished the token. Chairman finally snapped out of his shock and let out a cry, his face filled with excitement. Master, you are the head of our Feng school. Someone muttered, Chairman. Didn't you say the Feng school on the mainland was long gone, and the so-called master was just some farmer? Chairman's face flushed with anger. Nonsense. How dare you try to drive a wedge between me and the master? Master, our Hong Kong Feng Shui Association has been waiting for your arrival for so long. Chairman rushed forward to shake my hand, but then he saw the shade on the ground and flinched, stopping a safe 10 feet away to shower me with praise. All right, that's enough. I told you Feng Shui had declined. None of you even knew what a shade was. I waved my hand dismissively and sighed. A shade is a transitional state between a corpse and a jiangshi. Its body isn't as rigid as a jiangshi's, it's not as strong, and it's not much of a threat in a fight. Its danger level is actually pretty low. Moreover, the conditions required to create a shade are extremely specific. The burial ground has to be a traditional corpse nurturing ground, a place with cold soil, an unbalanced pH, and poor air circulation, which prevents organic matter from decomposing. But traditional corpse nurturing grounds are all incredibly malevolent places. A body buried there would usually skip the shade phase and turn directly into a jiangshi, fed by the overwhelming negative energy. Therefore, the appearance of a shade can only be man-made. Someone deliberately brought in special soil from elsewhere, created a sealed environment, and used a very faint blood-based malevolent energy to cultivate the corpse into a shade. If I'm not mistaken, this ground was once soaked in fresh blood for 49 consecutive days. Ah yes, I heard that when Franklin Tong's father was buried, the funeral rites lasted for 49 days. The masters had a moment of realization, followed by even more confusion. Master, why would he turn his own father into a shade? Do you know why it's called a shade? One of its most important functions is to shade, or protect its descendants, ensuring their prosperity and wealth. That Franklin Tong is a real piece of work, using his own father's corpse to get rich instead of letting him rest in peace. Okay, let's all go up for now. I'll deal with this shade. I had them set up the ladder again, and led the old men out of the crypt. The rain outside had lightened. Leo's bodyguards had somehow set up a canopy, and even put out a table and chairs. When the masters emerged, the reporter immediately rushed over with her microphone. Chairman Su, you're injured. What happened down there? When is this Master Jade going to apologize? Silence. The silence was deafening. The 6 Feng Shui masters were all a mess. Chairman Su had bruised his chest on the corner of the coffin while fleeing. Albert had been tripped, and someone had stepped on his back. He thought he might have a broken rib. What could they say? They couldn't very well admit that Master Jade single-handedly defeated a monster, while their injuries were the result of a panicked stampede. That would be a disgrace to their ancestors. Chairman cleared his throat. Ahem, is your camera lens wet? Stop filming. It's raining hard, you should head back. I have somewhere to be, so I'll be going now. The masters scattered like birds, leaving only Leo, who was now sticking to my side like my shadow. I gave him instructions. You go back first, too. Get some things ready for me. I need to stay here overnight. Have your driver come pick me up in the morning. There was a lot I hadn't said in front of them, for fear of scaring them. A man-made shade like this would normally stay in its crypt. It would never have enough death energy to crack a tombstone. The death energy on that coffin clearly came from another source. After most of the people had left, I took the ladder and went back down into the crypt alone, searching every corner. As night fell, the death energy on the coffin grew so thick it was almost tangible. Reaching out, I could feel the air was slick and clammy. I found no clues in the crypt and was completely stumped. I climbed out and stood on the grave, looking up at the sky. It was completely dark now, with only a few stars twinkling. I looked to the northeast at the star Tualuo and felt a shiver run down my spine. In disbelief, I turned to look in the other directions. To the southeast, northwest, and southwest were Pajun and Lianjun, the 4 Bane stars. They formed a giant net, trapping the entire starfall ridge in their alignment. And the grave of Leo's father was right at the intersection of their celestial lines. Holy crap! This was the legendary convergence of the four banes. The power of the stars trumps any earthly landscape. In an instant, this rare auspicious sight had been transformed into the most powerful corpse-nurturing ground in the world. The only saving grace was that the stellar energy was focused solely on Leo's father's coffin. It didn't even affect the nearby shade. And since the Earth is constantly rotating and revolving, the positions of the stars change slightly every day. So, strictly speaking, this four banes formation would only align perfectly once a year. Leo's father had been buried for 15 years. It took 15 years of this power for him to begin to reanimate. But unfortunately, the star Tualua was shining brightly. Based on my calculations, the body in the coffin would fully reanimate tomorrow. When it emerged, it would be a true catastrophe. The military would probably have to be called in with heavy artillery to deal with it. I had to act fast and solve this before midnight tomorrow. As I was frantically trying to come up with a plan, I heard a faint footstep behind me. An instant later, a cold hand clamped over my mouth. A strange, pungent smell filled my nostrils. Then everything went black. When I woke up, it was the next day. I was tied to a chair, and the bright sunlight streaming through the window made my head spin. I shook my groggy head and looked at the 8 stylish, beautiful women sitting on the sofa across from me. Who are you? So you're Jade. You're not all that special. What, did Leo get tired of fine dining and decide he wanted some plain cabbage? A glamorous woman with long, wavy hair and high heels sauntered over. She grabbed my chin and studied my face for a moment. Tisich, this is what he's into. Here's $5 million. Leave Hong Kong today and never come back. Vivian, isn't $5 million a bit much? Yeah, mainlanders are poor. $1 million would be enough to send her packing. I heard she's just a poor student. She'd probably be thrilled with 100 grand. Exactly. I'm not as loaded as Vivian. I'm just saying, don't expect me to chip in for that $5 million. The women started bickering. I listened for a while and finally pieced it together. These were all Leo's girlfriends, a mix of celebrities, models, and TV anchors. Leo was a big spender, keeping them all in mansions and showering them with luxury goods. Hong Kong was an open-minded place. No one had a formal title, and they all coexisted peacefully. But my arrival changed everything. The media was reporting that Leo had proposed to me. If we actually got married, they'd all become mistresses. First, it would damage their reputations and careers. Second, with a legal wife in the picture, Leo probably wouldn't be able to spend on them as lavishly as before. Their interests were all at stake. So they'd pooled their resources and hired some local thugs to kidnap me. Once I understood, I was frantic. These women were insane. The shade was still in the crypt, unprocessed. If the four banes converged tonight, the shade would reanimate too. With Leo's father on top of that, I wouldn't be able to handle it alone. I can't believe you people. I have nothing to do with Leo. I'm here to do feng shui for him. You have to let me go. No matter how I explained, they wouldn't believe me. They thought I was holding out for more than $5 million. Vivian's eyes flashed with a dangerous light. Listen to me, Jade. I'm trying to be nice here. Don't be greedy. People who push their luck don't end up well. She gave a nod to a man in a black suit and sunglasses standing nearby. He immediately pulled a gun from his pocket. The dark muzzle was pointed right at me. I froze for a second, then nodded quickly. Okay, $5 million. I'll leave right now. Vivian was true to her word. She stuffed a check into my pocket. I cautioned her. It could fall out from there. Can you put it in my jeans pocket? A little deeper. Vivian was speechless for a moment. I knew it. You're just a gold digger. You're only with Leo for the money. I nodded. We have a purely financial relationship. Don't you? One of the other women clapped her hands gleefully. Haha, I got that on tape. If Leo still wants her back, we'll just play him this recording. The women chattered among themselves, arranged for a private jet, and then hustled me into a car. It was the weekend and traffic was terrible. By the time we got to the airport, it was almost dark. I was getting desperate. What was wrong with Leo? He was supposed to have people at the gravesite. How could they not know I'd been kidnapped? If I actually got on that plane, it would all be over. A jiangshi always seeks to reclaim its death energy. The first person it would kill was Leo. I got out of the car, looking over my shoulder every few steps. The wind at the airport was strong, and I had to hold my pocket to keep the check from blowing away. Finally, just as I was about to board the plane, Leo appeared. He jumped out of his car and sprinted toward me like he was in a 100-meter dash. "Master Jade, don't go." When he reached me, his legs gave out, and he dropped to his knees, burying his head in my lap and sobbing. The death energy in my neck is getting worse. My hands have been shaking all day, my heart is pounding, and my legs feel weak. I feel like I'm going to die. Damn it, those women are trying to kill me. Leo wailed incoherently. Everyone else just stared, stunned. After a moment, Vivian started crying. She rushed over to us, grabbing at Leo's shoulders. "Didn't you say you were a committed bachelor? That you'd never get married? You said I was the special one, that as long as I stayed with you, you'd take care of me forever. You're a monster, Leo." "Yeah, Leo, all of us are here now. Tell us the truth. Are you really going to marry this woman?" "That's right. It's the 8 of us or her. You can only choose one." "I choose your mother." "All of you get lost. Get the hell out of here, you damn harpies." Leo shot to his feet and slapped Vivian across the face. Then he ordered his bodyguards to drag the women away. They all started screaming and crying. The scene was chaos. I grabbed Leo's arm. "Forget about them. We have to get to the cemetery now." The car sped away from the airport. On the way, I called Albert. He answered in a hushed voice. "Hello." "Ahem, master. We're in the middle of a press interview." "Chairman Sue?" "Oh yes, he's here too. Everyone is." I told Albert to put his phone on speaker. He reluctantly complied. It turned out that after they left yesterday, the helicopter had captured footage of us at the cemetery. Today, an entertainment magazine was doing a special interview with the Feng Shui Association to find out what happened in the crypt. "Chairman, is this Master Jade really Leo's girlfriend? What exactly happened when you all went down into the crypt? Has she privately apologized to the Feng Shui Association? Will she be making a public apology to the media?" Chairman looked awkward, scratching his head, unsure of what to say. Just then, Albert held the phone up to the microphone, and my loud, clear voice boomed out. "By the authority of the head of the Feng School, I command all of you to grab your tools and get to Starfall Ridge Cemetery immediately. Bring that peachwood sword of yours. Albert, you bring your luopan. Did you all hear me? Hey Simon, did you hear me?" "Ah. Oh master, yes, we heard you. Loud and clear." Chairman nodded and stood up, his face serious. "All right, we've got a job to do. To the cemetery now." The other masters scrambled to their feet, rushing to find their ancestral artifacts. The reporters were dumbfounded. The interview was being broadcast live, and viewers at home were already in an uproar. What the hell? Did that Master Jade just call herself the head of something? And she called Chairman Simon? Seriously? What is this? Are they shooting a TV show? This is insane. What are these masters doing? Did Leo buy them off to act in his little drama? While the outside world descended into chaos, I sat in the car, urging the driver to go faster. After running countless red lights, we finally reached Starfall Ridge Cemetery. I leaned over to check Leo's watch. Thank God. 5:30 p.m. We still had time. We raced to the top of the hill. A large group was already there, using a pulley system to hoist the coffin out of the crypt and move it to the open space in front of the tombstone. First, I had them bring up the shade. I doused it in gasoline and set it on fire. The flames shot up, and a foul-smelling black smoke filled the air. Leo stood to the side, pinching his nose. "Master Jade, are we going to burn my father's coffin too?" I shook my head and poured the rest of my yin-yang water over the coffin lid. As the water fell, black smoke hissed off the wood. "It's not that simple. We need to perform a ritual first, then burn it tomorrow. Once the coffin is up, have everyone else go down the mountain." Money talks. The coffin was quickly lifted out. By then Albert, Chairman Sue, and the rest of their elderly crew had arrived. Everyone except the Feng Shui masters and Leo was cleared from the site. I breathed a sigh of relief, told Leo to sit in front of the coffin, and had the masters form a circle around it. Then I started pulling a carpenter's ink line from my bag and snapping it against the coffin. Chairman frowned, completely bewildered. "You mean those old zombie movies were real?" Ink lines actually work against jiangshi? I nodded. The ink line was invented by Liu Ban, the patron saint of carpentry. Carpenters have always been part of my feng school. It's no surprise they have so many tools that can ward off evil. Just as I finished snapping the lines, it started to rain. At first, it was just a light mist, but it quickly grew into a downpour, washing the ink marks off the coffin. Damn it, I muttered. My only option was to pour the last of my yin-yang water on the coffin and pull out my bagua mirror. While I was busy, Leo, the coward, tried to sneak away. His legs trembled as he tried to run. I think I saw the coffin move. His legs gave out, and he stumbled, slipping and falling toward the coffin. Thump. His head hit the wood, and a gash immediately opened on his forehead. The blood pooled on the coffin, then vanished as if it had been absorbed. The coffin began to shake violently. Damn it, you idiot. You're going to get us all killed. I couldn't help but curse. I grabbed Leo by the collar and threw him backward. The next second, the coffin lid flew off. Leo's father shot out of the coffin, standing ramrod straight. His arms were outstretched, his face was a ghastly green, and his fangs were bared. He looked exactly like a jiangshi from the movies. Everyone screamed and scattered like headless chickens. After a moment of chaos, they realized the jiangshi was only chasing Leo, and they calmed down a bit. My lightning-struck token couldn't get wet, so I had to rely on my bagua mirror. I yelled at Albert to get his luopan ready. Leo, move. Keep moving. Kite him. Let him around. But Leo was just screaming, running blindly around the cemetery. Whoever he ran near would shriek and bolt in the opposite direction. It was total chaos. Useless, the lot of them. I gave up on directing and started pulling out every weapon I had, throwing them one by one at the jiangshi. Simon, the peachwood sword. The jiangshi lunged at Chairman, who was frozen in place. I yelled, and he finally snapped out of it, fumbling with his sword and thrusting it at the monster. Albert started clapping. Excellent. I hear Chairman was a champion fencer in his youth. Oh, not at all, just a high-level foil fencer. I almost made it to the Hong Kong Open Fencing Championship once. Ack! The jiangshi swatted him away with a single blow. I took the opportunity to slam my dragon-seeking ruler onto the jiangshi's back. Luckily, we had found it just as it had formed. The yin-yang water had drained most of its death energy, significantly weakening it. We had the advantage of numbers, and each of the masters had their own ancestral artifacts. One by one, we began to gain the upper hand. We fought for what felt like hours. Midnight was approaching. When it struck, the power of Tua Lua would amplify, and the jiangshi's strength would multiply. I gritted my teeth and, with a pained expression, pulled out my precious bottle of etherwater. An eye cream jar's worth. A sample size at that. Everyone get back. I held up the jar of etherwater and charged at the jiangshi. I'd only taken 2 steps when Leo materialized from some corner and threw himself at me, grabbing my arm. Master Jade, save me. Clatter. My etherwater was knocked to the ground. The little jar rolled away, its contents quickly seeping into the rainwater on the ground. My heart shattered. I let out a wail. My $15 million etherwater. In reality, with flights, hotels, and expenses, getting it probably cost a few tens of thousands. But it wasn't the money that mattered. It was the countless hours and effort I'd put into it. Just then, the jiangshi lunged straight for us. Leo tried to run, but I held him fast, watching as the jiangshi tackled him to the ground. The jiangshi opened its fanged mouth and went for Leo's neck. Leo let out a desperate, final scream. At the last second, I stomped on the jiangshi's back, forcing its face into the mud. The ground where the etherwater had spilled was shimmering with an unnatural light. When Leo's father's face hit the etherwater, his whole body began to convulse violently, and thick clouds of green smoke poured off his skin. I kept my foot firmly on his back, jabbed his heart with a peachwood sword, and stuffed a handful of 5 emperor coins into his mouth. The others saw their chance and swarmed in, unleashing all their artifacts on the jiangshi. After a frantic struggle, the jiangshi finally stopped moving. Its skin began to melt, slowly dissolving into a puddle of black, corrosive fluid. Leo was still lying on the ground next to the puddle, hugging it and vomiting uncontrollably. All right, get up. That stuff is highly toxic. Stay near it too long and your skin will rot off. I pulled Leo to his feet. He was crying, his expression vacant, his eyes unfocused. Master Jade, am I going to die? Leo held his hand up to my face. My dad bit me. Relax. We'll just use some sticky rice to draw out the corpse poison later. We've all got some scratches. Chairman Su waved his hand dismissively. In the struggle, the whole elderly crew had gotten a few cuts and scrapes from the Jiangshir's nails. I shot him a glare. You've been watching too many old zombie movies. Sticky rice for corpse poison? You have no common sense at all. Chairman Su looked confused. Sticky rice doesn't work? Then what do we do? Every poison in the world has its antidote. Where a venomous snake slithers, its cure can be found within 7 steps. It's the same for Jiangshi. The corpse drivers of Xiangxi also had their corpse nurturing grounds. In their old forests, there's a specific plant that neutralizes corpse poison. I'll have to make a trip to Xiangxi to find the antidote. I'll mail it to you all. The masters and Leo immediately grew anxious. Oh no, that won't do. Master Jade, we'll go to Xiangxi with you. I gave Leo a disdainful look. Xiangxi is full of secret arts and dangers. You'd just be in the way. What skills do you have? Leo paused for a moment. Does having the superpower of money count? Master Jade, I'll pay you back for that ether water, and I'll give you another 20 million as a fee. Hiss. My mind raced. 5 million from Vivian, plus 35 million from Leo. That's 40 million. Times 1,000th. Holy cow, that's $40,000. I'm rich. In my line of work, you take money to solve problems. But there's a rule. You can't keep more than 1 part in 1,000 of what you earn, or you'll suffer misfortune. So even though I charged a lot, I'd never actually made much money over the years. Ugh. The money's not important. I'm just worried your poison might act up sooner than expected. Fine, you can come with me to Xiangxi. The next day, I had Leo put his father's clothes back in the coffin and rebury it. I even performed a special ritual for him for free and repositioned the tombstone to avoid the 4 Banes alignment. Meanwhile, Vivian unilaterally announced their breakup to the media, generously wishing me and Leo all the best. For a time, it was the biggest headline in Hong Kong. My friend Jason called me, his voice filled with shock. Jade, are you really marrying that old guy from Hong Kong? I set him straight. Of course not. I'll explain when I get back. I actually need to go to Hunan. You should come with me. After hanging up, I had Leo arrange a private jet to take me back to the mainland. I need to take care of a few things at school first. We'll meet in 3 days at the Frontier City Airport in Xiangxi, Hunan. The elderly crew gave me a tearful farewell, all promising to join me in Xiangxi. They loaded me up with a pile of expensive Hong Kong specialties. I hugged the precious fish maw, bird's nest, and other tonics, beaming with joy. As the plane door closed, I pressed my face to the window and waved. See you in Xiangxi. The end.